Hey everybody, it's Bronco from Apex Vaulting. It's been a few weeks. We did drop a podcast episode a couple weeks ago, but then with the holidays and just stuff ramping up for winter track, it's been a little bit tough. I'm gonna try to get back on a roll posting these weekly videos on YouTube. Today's talk, I wanted to discuss a tweet that I made today. Do people still call them tweets? I do, anyway. I posted something that I think is very interesting. We use a lot of pole vault jargon as coaches, and we say things like, as an example, well, you should have a smooth and connected jump. The problem in the pole vault community, though, is I don't know. If you ask 3 different coaches what's a smooth connected jump, you'll get 3 very different answers, and oftentimes they're really vague. But this is something that's even worse. If you ask athletes, do they have an answer to that? They might agree and nod their head and say, yeah, smooth connected. But if the athletes don't know what a smooth connected jump is, how can they train and create a smooth connected jump? I think what we have to do as coaches, we have to clearly, specifically define what we talk about. We have to have guidelines, parameters set for what this means, what that means. So let's talk about the smooth connected jump. Well, let's just discuss off the ground, right? So we're talking about the jump. I mean, the moment the athlete leaves the ground. Well, we have takeoff, you have a swing, you have a turn, and you have a push off. You have to then define what is a takeoff for you. What are the parameters and guidelines of a takeoff? When does the takeoff start? When does it end? Is the takeoff the moment the foot leaves the ground? Is the moment the takeoff, the pole hits the back of the box? Is that the moment when the takeoff starts? When does the takeoff end? How do we know we've completed the takeoff? Because if you want to have a smooth connected jump, you need to know when things start, when they end, when the next phase begins, so that you could smoothly connect that to the previous phase, right? Like, how do I smoothly connect my takeoff to my swing? How do I know when I finish the takeoff to go into my swing? And at Apex, we talk about these things, and I'll go into some details of what I think specifically, right? Just to explain my perspective, and so that you guys have something a little bit more tangible, and then you could start to apply this however you coach the vault, whatever technical model you like. But think about it this way. When you were writing those English papers or college papers, they always talk about a thesis statement. Well, what is a thesis statement? It is literally what the essay or paper is about. You are stating the purpose of your paper. People talk about, for businesses, you should have a mission statement. What is the purpose of your business? Otherwise, how do you know what you should or shouldn't be doing? If there's no purpose, if there's no point, if there's no mission statement, there's no goal, well, how do we know how to conduct ourselves? Right? For Apex, our mission statement, we have always thought about this concept that every athlete matters. Doesn't matter what age, young or old, doesn't matter your athletic potential, fast, slow, weak, strong, doesn't matter how high you jump. You could be a straight beginner, you could jump very high. Every athlete matters. We're trying to help everyone. That's a big goal here. And so that's what helps guide our structure for our pole vaulting club, right? The different practice sessions we have, the different group sizes, the hours that we're open, the additional services like our Apex strength classes, right? Because those help the athletes that need to build the strength and speed and explosiveness to get better at the vault, right? Everything that we do is towards that mission statement of like, okay, we want to help every athlete. Every athlete matters. So now let's go back to the vault. Yes, every pole vault coach will agree. Smooth connected jump. What does that mean? Well, again, if we go by takeoff, swing, turn, push off, we need to connect these 4 phases of the vault. Now at Apex, we even start to cut the swing into 2 parts. There's what we call the swing to the hip, which is the beginning stages of the swing where your hips start to bend. You engage your upper back. Some people call it the cover position. We'd call that the end of the swing to hip. And then we also add the swing to chin, which some people will call the invert before they turn. So now we just made it 5 parts. But then each one of these phases, like I was kind of bringing up before, there's a beginning part of that stage, there's an end part. Let's just go back to takeoff. Takeoff, the moment, you actually jumping up, like the plant is completed, your jump, meaning that long short, right? Really changing direction, trying to make an effort to jump up. That's kind of the start of the takeoff. Again, you've completed the plant. The tip should have at this point, right? Because you're jumping off the ground. The tip has hit the box, not the back of the box, but it's touching the box, and you're in an effort to leave the ground, okay? The end of the takeoff is you are completely off the ground. The pole has now hit the back of the box, and you should have felt that your bottom hand got above your head. Not in front of it, but above the head. So you feel a nice stretch in your arms, nice stretch in your upper back muscles like the lats. And now you're prepared to engage the swing. Let's talk swing to hip. You start swinging your leg forward, you're bending at the hips, you engage the upper back, the hips are starting to go up. That's the swing to hip, the beginning of it. As your legs swing and the hips start to bend, that's the beginning of the swing. So that if you're a righty, that left foot swinging forward. The end of the swing to hip is when your hip is underneath your bottom hand on its way up. Once you engage your top arm and start pulling your belly button up to your right hand, pulling your chin towards your left hand, that's the swing to chin or invert, and that ends as you start to turn. So once the right elbow is bending, now you'd start to turn your hips and shoulders in, that's the turn, and you have to completely turn, and you have to get your top arm shoulder, if you're righty, your right shoulder, past your right hand if you're a righty, or top hand would be left hand for a lefty. And now that's the end of the turn, and you would engage the push off, and you push off the top of the pole. You would also bend at the hips, pike over the crossbar. That's the jump. So I've kind of briefly gone over all these different phases, but again, you could start to now refine it even more. You could talk about what muscles you engage, when you engage them. You could talk about feel. You could talk about angles. And obviously, I think with athletes, it helps to show them visuals. I have a lot of videos. A lot of times the social media stuff that you see me put out there, like on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, the YouTube shorts, I do those videos a lot of times for my club athletes so that they can see examples of what I am talking about, what it should look like. This is the end goal. So saying something like, okay, we need to have a smooth connected jump, well, what does that mean? I have to start to break that down. I have to talk about each phase. Where's the beginning? Where's the end? How do I do that? The more clearly we define things, the more our athletes can work towards mastering the vault, mastering each phase. Just like, okay, again, I talked about that mission statement of like, okay, every athlete matters. That's what's important in Apex. Well, what does that mean? I have to now go deeper. Like, that's a great one sentence, just like saying smooth connected jump. It's great, everyone agrees. But then, like, what does that mean at Apex, right? Well, I went into more detail with you guys. I talked about, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what your athleticism is, doesn't matter, how high you jump, doesn't matter what your goal is. For some people, the goal is to make their high school team, score some points at a dual meet. Other people, they want to be a state champ, right? Those are two very different goals. Every athlete matters. We're going to help every athlete achieve their goals. That attends this club. Same thing. I think saying something like an athlete needs to have a smooth connected jump is nice, but you have to make sure everyone understands what that means. Otherwise, you're going to have athletes that struggle to have a smooth connected jump. And I'm going to bring in one last idea before I let you guys go. I was talking with one of my coaches, and we were talking about the idea, people throw around, well, genetics, right? Oh, that person has great genetics. And usually when people talk about great genetics, they talk about it in the context of athleticism, like, oh, that person's really fast, that person's really strong, they're explosive, they're tall, they're long. People never talk about genetics like, wow, that person is really good at watching someone do something and copying it very easily, mimicking, right? Like, they can watch someone do something in a jump and they can copy it on the next attempt. I think far too many people in the pole vault world don't realize, yes, you do have a demographic. They're very good at just watching someone do something and then mimicking it. But they can't explain to someone how they figured it out, and they can't help someone who's not good at that to try to figure it out. So this is why when we start to deal with regular people who maybe aren't so genetically inclined to like just mimic so easily, we have to be able to break things down, define things clearly so that they can achieve those same positions you're looking for those same skills that you're trying to teach, and eventually master the vault. So I hope this was helpful. Try to really, as a coach this season, going into the winter season, try to think about things that way. Okay, do I ever say things that are maybe a little too general, a little too vague? Let me specify so I can help my athletes achieve this more general goal. Let me break it down for them. The more specific that we can break things down, the more likely that your athletes will achieve those positions and those jumps that you're looking forward to this year. All right, have a great week, everybody.